You believe in Jesus?
Yes, I do.
Well, you're going to meet him.
You see what fun this is? It's going to get really exciting. I know what to do now. They've made it clear.
You warriors are good. Real good. The best.
This is the end of your rotten life, you motherfucking dope pusher.
We'd make one hell of a team, Snake.
The name's Pliskin.
Back with another episode of 42nd Street Forever, the official podcast of Grindhouse Cinema Database. I'm Pete Roberts, and I'm very happy to welcome back Ken Hegarty from Gotham City Drive-In. Hey, Ken, how you doing?
Greetings, fellow boils and ghouls, and very happy to be back with Peter, who, again, is the one of the head honchos next to Sebastian Basilback of one of my favorite websites of all time, Grindhouse Cinema Database, and also extra thanks to Peter, kind of plug here, for allowing me to do that review of Terror Train. Because
no problem.
What better way to celebrate the new year, not only with this episode, than with New Year's on a train while Slasher goes around giving around more severed hands than the Tim Burton film.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I like that one. But today we were going to talk about two of our favorite. Well, it's not really our favorite. It's two classics basically from the Grindhouse era, and we
interesting little oddities that played in a little place called the Rialto.
Right, and this is sort of like the official start of the podcast, because for a while we didn't really have a set concept of what we want to do, but now we kind of know where we're going with it, and it's going to be double features, like authentic double features from the Grindhouse. The actual, the 42nd Street Grindhouse theaters. So the first episode is going to made up of two features that shown on January 1st, 1984, and those were Nightmare on Elm Street and Missing in Action. So those are the two films we're going to be talking about today. So I guess we could start off with Nightmare on Elm Street if you wanted to.
Sure, if you want to. And a little background.
Okay.
Brief background on Rialto Theater.
Yeah.
Located 201 West 42nd Street. The architect was Thomas Lamb and Rosario Candela. It originally started as a lush little palace, but then in the 70s, it saw adult films, and WOR Studios later moved in upstairs. Imagine that. Daytime talk shows and people screwing as well. Now, then later on, it turned into a more ritzy palace, and here we are today talking about the first Nightmare on Elm Street, a title that a lot of us are familiar with, but to a new generation of people that are listening to this podcast, you're probably wondering, what are we talking about? Well, it's the debut of one Fred Krueger, who's called here Fred Krueger, who slashes and slices teens in their dreams because in the beginning he was a guy who worked in a boiler room. Originally he was meant to be like a sexual predator, but however, given the state of the country at that time, Wes Craven decided, let's make him a child murderer.
Because that's just like so much better than the other thing. It's like kind of ridiculous, but. Yeah, I know.
I'm fine with either one, as long as they've written it well. Yeah, but anyway, so back to what we were talking about. So when he first gets caught by the police, they figured they were going to turn him in, but due to some weird screw up in the law where the signature isn't written in the right search warrant, he gets let go free, and there's vigilantism involved. So they chase him down to his boiler room, set the place on fire, and he proceeds to haunt people in their dreams, including a young Johnny Depp.
And that's introducing Johnny Depp. So this is his first film, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
He was
and
sort
he
of the
plays.
Justin Bieber of his day.
Oh God, no!
He was like,
no.
well, he was like, he was like a teen idol, teen heartthrob. I'm just kind of just joking, half joking on that, but he was. That's
Yeah.
where he started out. So, he was on all the covers of teen magazines and stuff at this time. And
Oh man,
yeah,
how
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish. Though it makes you wish Justin Bieber died in a blood
Oh man,
fountain the way
yeah,
Johnny Depp does.
yeah.
It's like, can we
We don't want to.
switch?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we switch Johnny Depp for Justin
Justin
Bieber?
Bieber. Yeah,
It's like
or
kill,
Justin.
kill, kill.
Or Justin.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so back to the thing. But so yeah, and also we also there's another actor in this movie that we've seen before in another horror film that we kind of discussed before, which was John Saxon, and he was in
John
Black
Saxon.
Christmas. Remember?
Like Christmas. He
Yep.
was also in Enter the Dragon,
Right, and-
Cannibal Apocalypse as well.
And I think I'm not sure if his first horror movie was the Evil Eye or The Girl Who Knew Too Much. That was sort of like, the first Giallo, but he was in that one too. That was like 1963 or 4, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think that might have been his first one.
That's the thing with these horror films.
Yeah.
Usually they'll have one veteran actor saddle up with.
Oh yeah, that's true.
With Halloween, it was Donald Pleasance. Friday
Right.
the 13th, it was Betsy Palmer. And
Yep.
here we get John Saxon.
They kind of have like a veteran actor from like, that's been in the business for like years and years as kind of like the main character. One of the leads.
Even Child's Play and Hellraiser did that sort of thing.
Was that
like with Child's Play?
Yeah, it was what's his face? I was going to say Brad what's his face? Brad
Dourif.
Dourif, yeah, he was been around for a while. He was in like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Wise Blood and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Well, it had another veteran actor in that, Chris Sarandon, who's been around as well, and another Grindhouse classic, The Sentinel.
Oh,
and,
yeah. That's right.
With Hellraiser, there's Andrew Robinson as well.
From Dirty Harry. That's what I knew
Yeah,
him from.
Dirty Harry, Scorpio, and before that, he was in another kind of slasher movie, Cobra, with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, yeah. I've seen all those.
Yeah. I got
but,
that. But
who else was in Nightmare on Elm Street? There was Ronnie Blakely. I think she was in Nashville. She was one of the stars of that movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that one.
Stars. Amanda Weiss, who's the first victim killed, and the person we're led to believe is the main star up until she gets killed at the very least. Kind of in a tribute to Psycho.
Yep, right. That's true. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's sort of like a Psycho-ish type twist, having her getting killed off real early. But
you set up a person who you think is going to be the main character, but surprise, she's dead.
But I was going to say, and Robert Englund, he had been in like a whole bunch of stuff. Like he was in Eaten Alive, Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive before this, and now at the time I was watching. At the time this movie came out, I was like probably about 10 or 11, and he was on a TV show that I loved at the time called V. I don't know if you ever saw that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know V.
Yeah.
The one about the aliens that are secretly
invading the
people.
Yeah, they're kind of invading the Earth. But that was like my favorite show.
Yeah, I've heard about it because
yep.
Much like with everything in pop culture, it gets parodied to hell and back. I first heard about it through Robot Chicken because they actually did a parody of V. Yep. They did a parody of V. That's usually how I get my knowledge of pop culture, through parodies.
Right. Yep. So that was like my favorite show at the time. So he happened to be like on that, and then this is actually the first slasher film I ever rented on VHS was Nightmare on Elm Street. So that was like kind of made a big impact on me when I first saw that. I always loved the opening credits of the movie when he's making the glove. I love that. That's awesome.
I first heard about this because I saw it on TV. It was on Spike TV back when there actually was a Spike TV, believe it or not.
I remember Spike TV. Yeah.
Yeah, the first network for men.
Yeah, I remember that.
I only kind of was interested in Spike TV because they had a marathon of Freddy's competitor, Jason Voorhees, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
so
I first
saw part 7 on there, but back to what I was talking about. So it was on Spike TV that I managed to see the first act of Nightmare on Elm Street, where he's constructing the glove, and you see the blade gloves going through the sheet like
right.
Strange sheep It's like, what the hell was up with that sheep? Like,
The
was that
sheep.
Fred-
I guess it's supposed to like represent like the innocent slaughtering of the innocent sheep or something. You know what I mean? At the same
like
time,
lambs, like
all these
lambs
little
going to the slaughterhouse.
right lambs going through the
Freddy's
slaughter. Or,
or Freddy's fucked up humor, like he
yeah,
sees Tina as a lamb going through
right.
this slaughterhouse.
And I was wondering, do you think I'm pretty sure that Freddy was like the first like slasher villain or killer that had actually like a personality to him, because I think all the other movies pretty much like didn't they were all silent killers, like pretty much,
Up
right?
until that, yeah,
You
up
know what I
until
mean?
that
Yeah,
point, they were mostly quiet guys
yeah,
like Michael or Jason.
right. And you didn't really like, you didn't actually see, you saw that, like, you saw the killer's point of view a lot, but you didn't like
Yeah,
actually see him like, running around like right in the camera a lot, which is different with Freddy. He kind of became
or
like
in the
sort of like
case,
a,
or in the
personality
case of
himself.
or in the case of Leatherface, who
Yeah,
mostly just
I suppose.
grunted and like,
Yeah, yeah. He was
like
just sort of
that.
like a I don't know what was he was up to.
He was basically a
Yeah.
human version of a gorilla,
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
King
but
Kong in this case. But it's interesting because
yeah,
up until Freddy, the closest we came to a slasher with personality was Norman Bates.
yeah, and he
And
was
even
sort
then,
of, but I mean, he wasn't like in like like he as when he killed and stuff, he didn't like have like a personality like talking to people and stuff, and you know what I mean. He was just like himself, like a normal guy when he wasn't killing his mother, as you know what I'm saying, as his mother.
yeah, the closest would be after the shower scene where he's like, "Oh
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
mother,
yeah, right.
blood,
The split
blood."
personality thing, whatever it was.
It was
But
more.
yeah,
It was less a slasher villain and more on par with Michael Keaton from Batman.
right. The split personality, kind of like the whatever you'd call it. The
But
yeah.
yeah, Freddy, especially the later sequels, definitely had personality. Even
Yeah,
if
it
they
almost
were,
becomes like in the sequels, it almost becomes like a stand-up comedian routine. Like, he's like doing gags and stuff, like, joke gags and as he's killing people, like, he's with his one-liners and all that type of stuff.
it's like a
Yeah,
second-rate crypt keeper from
right,
Tales
that
from the
type of thing.
Crypt.
And I
But
think I liked the sequels even more than the first one. I don't know. I think I liked like the creativity of all the weird stuff he did, like in the sequels, more than just the original one. It kind of got more creative as they went on, like the Dream Warriors. Like I loved it, like how it was like kind of like superhero kids versus Freddy, and and it was like kind of, I liked all that type of
yeah.
stuff.
And of course, we can't forget the songs by
Yeah,
Dokken in that one.
Dawkins, yeah, Dream Warriors,
Yeah, which is what I listen to on the way to work. But I can only think
good
of
stuff.
three movies in the saga that I like. The
Yeah,
first movie, the third one, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
yeah. I don't think I might have seen the New Nightmare once, but I think out of all of them, I liked the first one, the third one, and the fourth one. It was Dream Master, I think it was. I think that's what it
Dream
was. Yeah,
Master is
yeah,
okay,
yeah. I mean,
but
I was
that's
never a huge, Freddy fan, anyways. But
bingo. You
right,
and me both. But
More Jason, Friday the
yeah,
13th series.
Jason's where it's at, and
Right.
it
I just think
helped
they were better.
because
I think you probably felt the same way. You felt they were like kind of better movies overall, like the way they, you know what I mean, the characters and stuff. I don't know. I just
yeah,
thought they were more entertaining and more.
yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway, so shall I do the drive-in totals?
yeah, sure.
All right, I did this during Horrorween 3, as I call it, but we have 4 dead bodies, 2 boobies, multiple piercing nail sounds, mutant face in the wall, disturbing self-harm that Freddy does, body bag ghost with creepy crawlies, 1 hall monitor from hell, old oatmeal stairs, old Johnny Depp faithful, strangulation, exploding light bulbs, Kentucky Fried Child Predator, Kentucky Fried Mom, Hammer to the Stomach, Fingers Roll, Faces Roll, Gratuitous Lamb, Gratuitous Boombox Sound Effects, Gratuitous The Evil Dead on TV, Spooky Kids Singing, Shapeshifting, Bimbo Flinging, Bedsheet Hanging, Bitch Slappy, Coffee and Pill Poppy, Booby Trap Foo, Chair Foo, Glove Foo, Power of Love Foo, 4 stars. Check it out with Twizzlers in your trick or treat bag.
Yeah, and I loved it. One thing I did like a lot in this movie versus like the other films, like with the other slasher films, was how Nancy like kind of went like she did like her like booby trap stuff, like like you never like saw that in the other movies. Like it would just be like the normal like fighting back with like a knife or something, but she kind of like set up a whole obstacle course for Freddy to go through. That was awesome.
And of course
that was different.
That's a trademark with most Wes Craven movies.
Yeah, and but it's like but it's like it almost like brought in a little bit of like the A-Team, like whenever the A-Team would like at the end of each show, like when they'd like fight back against like the guys who were fight, they'd like set up a whole bunch of like they'd build a whole bunch of like traps and all types of cool like weapons and stuff.
Oh my god,
that's what it reminded me of, all that stuff.
And I said The Evil Dead on TV because
I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna ask you if you noticed that, but you noticed it.
Yeah, which brings us to another story of sorts, because for a while there was like a little intertextual.
I think I know where you're going with this too. I know what you're going to talk about. Yeah,
you'd see, but weird ass little war between Wes Craven and Sam Raimi over who's the bigger horror guy.
Yeah,
it all started with the Hills Have Eyes, believe it or not, because there's a scene in the Hills Have Eyes where in the background we witness a ripped up Jaws poster.
Right.
Essentially,
I know the story.
Wes Craven is basically trying to tell the audience, no, that was pop horror. That was watered down G-rated horror. This is the real horror where it's at.
Yep.
Then in the Evil Dead, we see it's in the background of the basement scene where Ash and his friend go downstairs, and we see, oh, behold, a chewed up Hills Have Eyes poster. Right. Basically, as Sam Raimi saying, no, I'm the real horror film. You're pop horror. I
love these little references.
Intertextual things. It goes to show you how weird I am. But anyways, so it was basically Sam Raimi saying, no, I'm the real horror. You're too mainstream. You get stuff at Toys R Us and blah, 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 blah. So it leads to intertextual thing where Nancy watches The Evil Dead on TV in Nightmare on Elm Street. And to cap it off, in Evil Dead 2, guess which one of Freddy things shows up in the background?
What in Evil Dead 2? There's a I don't know what was in Evil Dead 2. I remember seeing it. What was it?
The glove. The
glove is in Evil Dead 2?
Oh, heck,
I don't even remember. I don't even know where it was. Where was it?
It's in the head, like far off in the background when he's constructing the. Yeah, let's just say the crazy thing.
I'll have to rewatch that because I don't think I ever caught that when I've seen it. So I didn't know that.
And the funniest thing is others got in on this little intertextual thing. Like the weirdest and possibly most strangest case was Phantasm 2, where during the scene where Reggie and Mike are going through the graveyard, one of the tombstones says Sam Raimi, actually.
Oh, really? There's a little like on the gravestone. There's a.
Oh, hell yeah!
So they are like kind of like referencing each other and stuff. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch more stuff like that, but I can't think of it right now. But
so many references, so little time. But
that's awesome though.
That's a little end of that story.
I love all those little references and
Now to bridge to the other film. It should be mentioned that Freddy's competitor is Jason, who was the main guy in Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, directed by Joseph Zito, who, in addition to directing another slasher classic, The Prowler, is the man behind the camera for our second feature for today,
Missing in Action, starring Chuck Norris.
And before you ask, no, we're not going to make a Chuck Norris joke because they're not really that funny.
He wasn't as hairy in this movie as he was previously in other movies, but wasn't quite as. But so this was basically like, I guess at the time, James Cameron's Rambo First Blood Part 2 script had been like kind of floating around Hollywood. And this was sort of their, like, some writers kind of did their own spin on it because it hadn't been made yet. So that's where this basically where the whole story comes from. It's like basically a pre First Blood Part 2, rescue POW rescue movie with Chuck Norris like as the main character, and he plays a Colonel James Braddock, a special forces guy, special forces officer who had been in a POW camp 10 years earlier. And after the war, he goes back to the Vietnam and Ho Chi Minh City and to investigate reports that U.S. soldiers are still being held prisoner there. So that's what he's doing there. And then he kind of like does a little investigation and then finds out it's true. And he decides to go on a little recon mission. And he gets a little help from his old pal, Jack Tucker, an old army friend. And he's like a black market like guy who does like, he sells all types of weird merchandise and boats and guns and stuff to people. So he brings him in on the trip with him, and they go back and they try to break out some POWs, and that's like the gist of the story.
Yeah, it should be mentioned that Jack Tucker is played by our favorite character actor,
Emmett Walsh,
who Roger Ebert said, no movie featuring either Harry Dean Stanton or Emmett Walsh in a supporting role could be altogether bad.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's great. Like we know him from Blood Simple. People know him from that movie. He's been in tons of movies. Yeah, tons of stuff over the years.
Jerk, Ordinary People,
Blade Runner. Yeah, everything.
And I first heard about him through the movie The Iron Giant, actually.
Iron Giant? Oh, wow.
Yeah, he voiced the sailor, the first one to see the robot, actually.
Oh, cool. I must have, I don't think I saw The Iron Giant. I might have, I don't know, years ago, I probably did, but
I saw it as a little kid, actually. Yeah. So, and of course, he did some uncredited work on Midnight Cowboy as well.
Oh yeah, I think I might have read that. But I thought it was interesting that they named Braddock after the character from The Graduate, which was weird. What was that? I didn't get that. It's just a little in joke, I guess, but I don't know.
According to this, the producer's idea was to create a Vietnam War hero with the name of what they thought was a lazy California student.
That's funny. That's a funny little thing.
Usual, because this movie, for what you want to say, is coded in right-wing politics, so they're trying to take a jab at the left wing. And by the way, to anybody hearing this podcast, I don't take a side. Both sides suck. I am to politics what Stanley Kubrick was to them in Clockwork Orange.
You're just indifferent, I guess, to the whole thing.
Yeah, let's just say.
But I
won't trash anyone. You have the right to express your feelings all you want, basically. But let's just say, I take a note from Clockwork Orange that the writer and the government are all bad. I was cured, all right.
That's a good one. And also, James Hong is in this, who people know from Big Trouble in Little China and all types of. He's been in tons of stuff over the years too.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China, Perry Mason,
Wayne's World,
Man from Uncle, and to all you DC fans, you may know him as Professor Chang in Teen Titans. But anyways, that's for my friends out there. Oh, and also Jean-Claude Van Damme is in this movie doing uncredited work, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't think I caught him in there, but
he's in the background.
Okay.
So from one action guy to the next, actually. So I remember seeing Missing in Action. In fact, I even got it on Blu-ray, the collector's edition from Shout Factory. So it's an interesting little movie. I'm not that big a Chuck Norris guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time, I rented this one. This is another early movie that I rented, and around the same time, I went to see First Blood Part 2, and I was just more of a Rambo fan back then. That was the one that I saw that I really loved. It was such a going to see that movie at 11 years old at the theater. I was just wow. It was like going to see Rocky or something but it was action stuff. I think that was my first R-rated movie too. By the way, was First Blood Part 2. But I just connected more with that one. This one was more one that I rented at home and just watched it. I was oh, that was pretty good, but I didn't love it as much. But
I was more of an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And I watched those movies too. I loved all those Arnold movies like Commando and Predator and all those. Yeah, all that stuff. Terminator. Yeah. Those were more my guys. Was Sly and Arnold. But
Yeah, it was
this
more
was
than
no. But I
Arnold, yeah.
rewatched this. I just rewatched it last night. And it was a pretty good little film. I thought it was good. I mean, it was like sort of like Rambo light type thing. It wasn't like
Mhm.
you know that
The
type of thing.
Diet Cola of
Yeah.
Rambo.
Yeah, it was like sort of Diet Cola Rambo. But I mean, there was some good action and stuff. But then I watched the second one, and it was like terrible. The second Missing in
Yeah.
Action. Oh my god, it was so boring.
Yeah.
Just the most boring crap ever.
And that was
I
supposed to be
wouldn't
like the
recommend it.
first movie, believe it
Yeah,
or not.
yeah, it was like
I'm
I
like,
wouldn't
thank
recommend that one.
God. But
Yeah, I know.
anyways, on to the drive-in totals. We have 100 dead bodies, 10 boobies, 1 motor vehicle chase with 2 crashes, multiple gunfire, gratuitous discount Rod Stewart, better than the actual Rod Stewart, but that's a story for another
Right.
podcast. Bayonet to the abdomen, knife to the stomach, POW torture, strangulation, exploding palm trees, exploding helicopter, exploding hotel room, exploding army base, exploding boats, TV smashing, chest slitting, neck breaking, kung fu, grenade foo, 5 stars. Check it out.
And I just wanted to read a couple little quotes from some critics and Chuck himself. So Kevin Thomas of the LA Times wrote, "Missing in Action is so shrewdly tailored to Norris's stoic persona and physical skills that it's one of his best films to date. The only problem is its lack of suspense. You just know that Norris is going to succeed in his mission. Come to think of it, why did it take the invincible Norris 8 years to make good on his own escape?" That's a good one. And then and Chuck also said that I'm not quite as anti-government as Rambo is. When the helicopter comes to rescue Rambo and the American MIA and leaves him stranded, I found that unrealistic. There's not an American pilot alive who would leave them there. You'd have to shoot me to stop me from picking them up because I'd be dead inside if I didn't. Oh well, I still think Rambo's a better movie, but
And it should also be mentioned that
Yeah.
this movie is distributed by our favorite schlock factory themselves,
Canon Films.
Canon Films, the Golan Globus Meisters, the guys behind Death Wish 3, the He-Man movie,
Yeah.
Cobra,
Breaking,
Breaking 2,
2.
Electric Boogaloo. There's also Life Force, and pretty much all the Toby Hooper movies in 1985. So,
And I also
can't
have to
go.
add in one of my most favorite movies of all time, Runaway Train was a Canon film too, which is like, that's probably one of the very, very best ones of their whole output, I think.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
movie.
Personally, I like Life Force.
Yeah, I
It's
like that one.
the best of the one. And
Yeah.
also the Superman sequel. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, Superman 4. That movie was so terrible.
Oh,
It's
God.
like a cartoon basically, like compared to the first one. Like if you watch the first one and even the second one, and then the third one was
Not
kind
a
of
good-
screwed up, and then
And not a good cartoon. Yeah.
no, it was like terrible. The nuclear man with the
Destroyer Superman.
looking like I don't know looking like a hairdresser's nightmare there.
Oh, God. Looks like Ralph Sorella.
Ralph Sorrell. Oh my God,
From Howard Stern, actually.
that's hilarious.
Yeah. The gay
Any
wonder, as
other
I call him.
stuff you wanted to add about Missing in Action, or
To
I don't know.
all I'll say is that if you want a Chuck Norris movie that's decent and won't make you pull the hair out of the top of your heads, it's either this or Invasion USA, the other
Yeah,
one.
that was actually the one that I was a big fan of as a kid. That's the one I kind of skipped MIA and went to the Invasion USA. I love that one. That was my favorite.
Invasion USA with our other favorite character actor, Richard Lynch.
Richard Lynch, I think he got burnt or something, because every time you see him, it looks like his skin was like kind of like burnt or something, or he has like scars all over him. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, the dude from The Sword and the Sorcerer. But
Right.
out of those two, Missing in Action is kind of more decent, although Invasion USA is still pretty good. And again, it's all from Joseph Zito. But
Yeah.
those are our movies of the day: Nightmare on Elm Street and Missing in Action.
Yeah, those are
To
good.
say the least.
Good,
Interesting
classic
little-
80s movies.
Definitely ones I wouldn't call big fans of. I would have to say Missing in Action is probably the best. It's a little bit more entertaining and more goofy, to say the least. What about you? Of the two,
Yeah,
which one would you pick?
I think, well, I see. The thing is, I'm more like I said, I'm more of a Rambo fan, so I think I'd probably pick Nightmare on Elm Street as the more entertaining. I just found it like I rewatched it last night, and I just found it really like fun, and I what I really liked about Nightmare on Elm Street was sort of like the all like the kind of the fresh take on the slasher film, like instead of, you know what I mean, the whole like, you know, instead of just having it be like a normal like guy like, you know, running around the neighborhood killing people who's in the dreams, and I just like the whole kind of like Final Girl, like the kind of like reboot of the Final Girl with Nancy, like how she, you know, she's more intelligent when it comes to like fighting back against the killer and stuff. She wasn't just so like, you know, waiting till the last minute. She kind of planned it out, and I just thought that was really cool. And I did like her mother a lot in the movie. Like, you know, her mother she was a very sympathetic character as opposed to just being like a two-dimensional, like, you know, cranky mother or something. She had some like character to her. I just really liked that character.
I'm not a fan of the ending. That's all I'll say.
It's kind of goofy. The ending is goofy, I have to say. The ending is goofy with the movie.
Well, the ending didn't follow
that kind of
the
screws
logic
it up.
It didn't follow the rules that the movie made up, so it contradicts itself. So,
it kind of like takes a weird twist at the end, like a weird like, is it real? Is it not real? Type thing. But I guess, you know, I guess there's different ways you can look at that.
It's the studio wanting a sequel. So.
Right.
It's like, but we basically wrapped up our thoughts and gave the overall impression. Anything you want to give to the audience before we? I
just want to make sure everybody checks out the website and then our Instagram Grindhouse database. I don't know if you want to give your Instagram address or.
Sure, I'll give a short plug. You could find me at Gotham City Drive-In Official. We recently did a Paul Naschy film called Horror Rises from the Tomb, which is his version of Black Sunday and the Brain That Wouldn't Die. Essentially, it's an entertaining film. And also, speaking of the website, check it out, Grindhouse Cinema Database, for my review of Terror Train. And as Peter would say, we shall see you at the Grindhouse.
So thanks to everybody for listening. This is 42nd Street Forever podcast. Pete Roberts and Ken signing off. We'll see you next time. Happy 2023.